Imagine waking up one day and finding out your Social Security check has been frozen, not because you did anything wrong, but because of a new government policy. That the reality some Americans could soon face after a major executive order signed by former President Trump is beginning to stir serious conversation. Whether you're retired, caring for elderly parents, or simply paying into the system, this update could directly affect your future and your wallet. On April 15, 2025, President Trump signed a new executive memorandum aimed at tightening the rules around Social Security. At its core, the order targets two things: preventing fraud within the system and ensuring that only legal U.S. residents receive benefits. While this may sound fair in theory, after all, no one wants their tax money misused, the way it's being implemented raises a lot of questions. And the impact? Well, that's where it gets complicated. To begin with, the Social Security Administration, SSA, will now be working more closely with the Department of Justice and the Office of the Inspector General. These partnerships are being used to roll out a major expansion of fraud enforcement, with over 50 U.S. attorney offices getting new fraud prosecution teams. That's not all. 15 new task forces will also be launched to investigate abuse within Medicare and Medicaid programs. It's a nationwide crackdown aimed at tightening every crack in the system. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. One of the most surprising and frankly unsettling parts of this order is the so-called Are You Alive project. This initiative sounds like science fiction, but it's real. It targets people over the age of 100 who are still receiving benefits, particularly when their financial records look suspicious. The concern is that some of these accounts may be hijacked for identity theft. The government isn't accusing these individuals directly. It's more about flagging anomalies that could indicate someone else is collecting benefits using their Social Security number. Now here's where things get even more serious: the return of a civil penalty that hasn't been enforced in years. If someone is caught filing a fake claim, they could now face a fine of up to $10,000. The hope is that this stiff penalty will serve as a strong deterrent. But some are wondering if it could also punish people who simply made mistakes or didn't understand the complex system. Supporters of this executive order argue that it's about protecting the integrity of Social Security. They point to data from organizations like the Federation for American Immigration Reform, which claims undocumented immigrants and their children cost the U.S. over $180 billion a year. According to FAIR, close to 1 million undocumented individuals are working with fake or stolen Social Security numbers, potentially receiving benefits unlawfully. That's what the Trump administration says it's trying to stop. But let's shift gears and talk about the flip side of this argument. Critics point out that most undocumented immigrants don't actually receive benefits. In fact, many pay into the system through payroll taxes and never see a dime in return. The Social Security Administration itself has reported that less than 1% of benefits are paid out improperly. So, is this about reducing fraud, or is it more about making a political statement? Legal experts have also raised concerns that focusing too heavily on immigration could distract from deeper systemic issues inside the SSA, like outdated technology, underfunded staff, and long wait times that already make it hard for people to access their rightful benefits. And then there's the risk of error. With automated systems and new identity checks rolling out, what happens if a legitimate recipient gets wrongly flagged? For seniors living on fixed incomes, even a short delay in payments can lead to real hardship. Another concern is fairness. Is a $10,000 fine really the best way to deal with someone who may have simply misunderstood the application process? There's a big difference between malicious fraud and a paperwork mistake, and treating them the same could hurt the people this system was designed to help. Let's take a step back and remember why Social Security was created in the first place. Back in 1935, the goal was to build a safety net for older Americans and those unable to work. Over the decades, it's grown to include Medicare and Medicaid, but the mission remains the same: protect the vulnerable and provide support in times of need. Now, nearly a century later, the system is under immense pressure from rising healthcare costs to a growing senior population. Yes, there's fraud. But there are also millions of honest people who depend on these checks to survive. So, what does all this mean for you? If you're a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, you might feel reassured that the government is trying to preserve the system. But if you're part of a community that's already struggling to navigate complex government processes, this might raise some red flags. Either way, it's crucial to stay informed. Check your account regularly, ask questions, and if you suspect fraud or error, report it immediately. Policies come and go, but what stays is how informed we are. Whether you support tighter enforcement or advocate for better access, the key is to engage with the facts, not just the headlines. Because this isn't just a policy issue, it's a people issue. So what do you think? Will this memorandum truly protect Social Security, or will it cause more harm than good? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from those of you who are directly affected or simply have something to say. And if this helped you better understand what's going on, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It helps us keep the conversation going. Thanks for spending your time with me. Until next time, stay informed, stay safe, and take care of each other.